Good morning. Welcome, everybody, to All Souls Unitarian Church here in Kansas City, Missouri. And it's so nice of you to join us on such a cold day, blustery day, the end of a long holiday weekend. My name is Scott Hensey. I'm a member of this congregation, and it's good to be with you today. We take pleasure in greeting our guests and visitors. Is there anybody here today that would like to stand up and introduce themselves, say hi, visiting over the holiday? Well, for those of you joining us on live stream, welcome as well from the comfort of your warm home. Lunch will be served in Conover. And if you are visiting us, lunch will be on us today. Please, after the service, go to the welcome booth and introduce yourself, and they'll make sure that you get a hearty meal today after service. Please have the courtesy to silence any electronic devices this morning. And we welcome your questions, comments, reviews, and responses to the service on Twitter or Facebook. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to welcome my brother and my sister this morning. It's so great to have a family of choice, and I am so pleased that my choices have been so important in my life, and that is Missy Kuntz, who's here today with us, and we're so happy she's here. And my brother, Ron McGee, is also here. He's going to speak to us later. So. Good morning, and welcome to our first Music Sunday program of this year on this World AIDS Day.
Some of you here today are doctors and nurses who have been on the front lines for the past 40 years, battling the ravages of the human immunodeficiency virus and acquired immunodeficiency syndrome.
Some of you are people living with HIV/AIDS, the ones for whom treatments were available and worked.
Some of you lost loved ones or friends or fellow workers to the ravages of this disease before we knew how to manage the virus.
Some of you may be researchers who helped bring those treatments into being.
Some of you came of age in a culture that was changed by the fears and the realities of AIDS.
All of us have been affected by the course of the epidemic, and all of us are safer today because of what we now know about living with the disease.
Yet there is still more to be done. There is more to learn. There are more people to be educated.
There are still people going untreated and people becoming infected in spite of what we now know.
There are still people suffering from fear, from stigma, from isolation and rejection.
HIV/AIDS is no longer a death sentence if you know where to turn,
If you have access,
if you find compassion among your family and friends,
if your community supports you,
if the drugs and the doctors are there for you,
if you know the right questions to ask,
if hope and meaning and the healing power of love are still part of your life.
This morning we celebrate the healing power of love to help us overcome the forces of ignorance and hatred, as well as sickness.
We honor the memories of those who have died before the answers were found, and those who die still because they are too poor or too distant to receive the help that could save them.
On this World AIDS Day, we rejoice in the lives that have been saved and in the vision of a day when our capacity to end this disease shall be complete.
As we do every Sunday, we kindle this chalice flame, summoning our hopes and our memories to turn once again to the highest good we know.
May the healing power of love be renewed in all our hearts, so that we may be messengers of truth and wholeness to all those who suffer, and witnesses of compassion and connection to all people, even to the ends of the earth.
My name is Khalil, and I light this chalice for the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all.
Thank you, Khalil. As the month of December begins today, many minds turn to the coming of Christmas. The season of anticipation is known as Advent. During which children and others count down the days until the 25th. Advent is about waiting for a moment that we look forward to. It is about being both patient and excited at the same time. In some communities, it is customary to light candles each week as the day of celebration comes closer, to help us remember the values that make this time special. Traditionally, they include hope, faith, joy, and peace.
Today we light the first candle of Advent, the candle of hope. Together we look forward to the coming of a future free from the disease of HIV/AIDS, when no one is infected or dies from the virus anymore. The more we learn, the more we know how our bodies work and how to keep them healthy, the more hope we have to end the stigma and the disease HIV/AIDS. May we carry this hope in our hearts throughout this season and always until it becomes true for all peoples everywhere.
Now I invite you to rise in body or spirit and speak the words of our covenant in this community. Together we affirm, goodwill is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to sow with peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Now will you join in the responses to the reading that will appear on the screen? Great ideas, it has been said, come into the world as gently as doves, as softly as angels. Perhaps, if we listen attentively, we shall hear amid the uproar of empires and governments a faint fluttering of wings, the gentle stirring of life and hope. Some will say that this hope lies in a nation, others in a single spectacular human being. Let us say rather that it is awakened or revived, nourished by millions of connected individuals whose deeds and words every day negate frontiers and defy the crudest implements of history. As a result, there shines forth fleetingly the ever-threatened truth that each and every person, on the foundation of their own suffering and joys, moves the future for all of us. And now we will invite our children to depart for their classes with song.
HIV continues to be a major global public health issue, having claimed more than 32 million lives so far. There is no cure for HIV infection. However, effective antiretroviral drugs can control the virus and help prevent onward transmission to other people.
The human immunodeficiency virus targets the immune system and weakens people's defense systems against infections and some types of cancer. As the virus destroys and impairs the function of immune cells, infected individuals gradually become immunodeficient.
Immunodeficiency results in increased susceptibility to a wide range of infections, cancers, and other diseases that people with healthy immune systems can fight off. Without treatment, infected individuals also develop severe illnesses such as tuberculosis, cryptococcal meningitis, severe bacterial infections, and cancers such as lymphomas and Kaposi's sarcoma.
HIV can be transmitted from infected people via the exchange of a variety of body fluids, such as blood, breast milk, semen, and vaginal secretions, or during pregnancy and delivery. Individuals cannot become infected through ordinary day-to-day contact, such as kissing, hugging, shaking hands, or sharing personal objects, food, or water.
Where there is healing, there is hope.
With increasing access to effective HIV prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and care, HIV infection has become a manageable chronic health condition, enabling people living with HIV to lead long and healthy lives. There were approximately 37.9 million people living with HIV at the end of 2018.
Where there is hope, there the heart is whole. However, not everyone is able to access HIV testing, treatment, and care. Due to gaps in HIV services, 770,000 people died from HIV-related causes in 2018, and 1.7 million people were newly infected. Increased HIV vulnerability is often associated with legal and social factors, which increases exposure to risk situations and creates barriers to accessing effective, quality, and affordable HIV prevention, testing, and treatment services.
Key populations include men who have sex with men, people who inject drugs, people in prisons and other closed settings, sex workers and their clients, and transgender people. In addition, given their life circumstances, a range of other populations may be particularly vulnerable and at increased risk of HIV infection, such as adolescent girls and young women in Southern and Eastern Africa, and indigenous people in some communities.
HIV can now be assessed through rapid diagnostic tests that can provide same-day results. This greatly facilitates diagnosis and linkage with treatment and care. At the end of 2018, an estimated 79% of people living with HIV knew their status.
An estimated 23.3 million, or 62% of all people living with HIV, were receiving antiretroviral therapy, and 53% had achieved suppression of the HIV virus with no risk of infecting others.
Where there is healing,
As a result of concerted international efforts to respond to HIV, coverage of services has been steadily increasing. In 2018, 62% of adults and 54% of children living with HIV in low and middle income countries were receiving lifelong antiretroviral therapy. 82% of pregnant and breastfeeding women living with HIV also received ART, which not only protects their health, but also ensures prevention of HIV transmission to their newborns.
Between the year 2000 and 2018, new HIV infections fell by 37%, and HIV-related deaths fell by 45%, with 13.6 million lives saved due to ART. This achievement was the result of great efforts by national HIV programs supported by civil society and international development partners.
It happens more than you think. I can think of maybe about 10 or 12 deaths a year where their family would abandon them and never come back. That every day is different. Every family is different. Every situation is different. Every day is different. It's one of those professions that once you're involved in it, you feel like you're serving, you feel like you're helping families. Even if I did not love working for myself, I still would be a funeral director and an embalmer at another funeral home in Mississippi. We started this funeral home in 2009 to assist families with funerals with more affordable prices. When we opened, Grace House called us and asked us if we would help them, and we said, of course. Grace House is a wonderful mission because they help people who have AIDS get a place to live and get a place to feel safe. They absolutely do take people in who are the least wanted. And some of these people they take in may be homeless and don't have anybody, or they might be abandoned by their family just because they have a disease. Most of the individuals are cremated, and that's by their choice. The family literally has to sign that form saying that it's okay to cremate. And as long as they'll do that and know they're not financially responsible for anything, they will do it, but they do not want the cremains. Grace House has a scattering garden that they will place those cremains in, and they take care of them pretty well. Everybody is going to die of something. I would hope that when my day comes, that my family, no matter what I have, doesn't say, get him out of this house, put him somewhere. I don't want him anywhere around me. I want to help the person who's deceased that may have lived a very rough life.
This essay is entitled, I'm Sick to Death of Young Death, Pneumophobia and Homophobia, and there are people I'd rather smack than shake a stick at right now. By Reverend Mark Bellatini, May 1987. Sometimes I fantasize just giving up. That's right, giving up. You know, packing up and joining Gauguin in Tahiti. You know, moving to Montreal, changing my name to Jean-Luc Leduc, and opening up a restaurant specializing in gnocchi. You know, standing in the middle of the street, stark naked, reciting the Cairo telephone book Z listings with proper solemnity until they come get me and fix me a nice Thorazine cocktail. It's bad enough that two of my beloved colleagues were turned down recently from one of our great liberal churches because a major minority in the church were not about to have dykes as their servant leaders. It's bad enough, if the grapevine reports correctly, that another candidate just got turned down for being, get this, too spiritual. It's bad enough that Jerry Falwell's latest fundraising letter accuses gay men of trying to kill off straight people by inventing AIDS, and that no one calls him out on it publicly, denounces him, sues him, or think he's anything but a laughable, independent Baptist minister. Yeah, and a viper is real amusing too. But cakes must be frosted. So now, I have to decide whether or not to omit the word AIDS from the funeral I'm about to conduct for one of my closest friends, because his mother says his uncles and aunts and grandparents didn't know his death was from AIDS, and this really isn't the best time to tell them. Here's a woman who just lost her 33-year-old Marvel son, a mother whose grief as a loving mother is unsullied, pure, and hard as a diamond. It's impossible grief, more cruel than Nero's fiery torches. I'm not stupid. I know that. Ecco pieta. Here is pity. And I try not to hate her for telling me this 5 minutes before I begin. And I try not to hate myself for not being Elijah and crying with appropriate rage. How dare you ask me, as a gay man, for Christ's sake, to not tell the whole truth, to pander to your delicate feelings about your son's embarrassing diagnosis. And I try not to hate myself as I change the word AIDS to lethal illness, so that the walnut farmers in Hollister won't faint dead away when they find out, yes, their dear, beautiful, dancing Alex was indeed a queer. You know, like the minister now reciting the eulogy, and the minister's life companion of 9 years, weeping over there in the second row, like Michelangelo, Buonarroti, or his model, built rather like Alex, who posed for Christ in the arms of weeping Mary, or even goddamn King James, for whom your dog-eared, droopy Bible is named. You know, a queer. But it's no use. I praise Alex and tell the full truth for all who have ears to hear. But I don't tell the naked truth. I don't know if I shall ever resolve whether I was a good pastor that day or a false prophet, or a bit of both, or if there's a solution I could have lived with better. I don't know if Alex's mother herself feels a bit of shame beneath her infinite grief, or even if she should indeed. I only know that in a world where self-styled Unitarian Universalists come out of the woodwork to mock congressional polity, made for us, folks, not us for it, and vote against my comrades for their sexuality, read undisguised intimacy, and their spirituality, read emotional commitments, and where religious leaders with the theological acumen of Torquemada escape with only a chuckle tossed in their direction, I should not be surprised if one Unitarian Universalist minister gets swamped by the prevailing American storm of denial, lies, self-deception, and delicious, giddy panic. Alex, I love you still, and so does Phil. And that, at least, my dear, is not subject to any anguish of self-questioning. Rest now in peace. Et lux perpetua luceat eis omnis, John Zemarowski, Frank Sisowski, filii tui, Deus meus, fratri mei, and, oh yeah, eleison imas. And may eternal light shine upon you and upon all of them, children of my God, brothers of mine, and, oh yeah, have mercy on us.
If your heart always did what a normal heart should do, if you always play a part instead of being who you really are, then you just might miss the one who's standing there. So instead of passing by, Show that someone that you care, instead of asking why me and why you, why should we too? 'Cause love don't need a reason. Love don't always rhyme, and love is all we have for now. What we don't have is time. If you always believe all the madness we were taught, never questioning the rules, then you're living lies you bought so long ago. How are they to know it's not what's wrong or right? It's just another way, and it's not about a fight. It's just I want to stay with you to the end, with you, my friend, 'cause love don't need a reason. Love don't always rhyme, and love is all we have for now. What we don't have is time. Now hold you close, time can't tear us apart. Now stand by you. We've got to start with the beat of one heart. Together we will see this through, 'cause love don't need a reason. Love's never a crime, and love is all we have for now. What we don't have, what we don't have, what we don't have is time.
Thank you, Missy. Missy was supposed to go back to Indianapolis early this morning, and I conned her into doing this, so I'm so happy she's here. Last Wednesday, the AIDS Service Foundation of Greater Kansas City held the World AIDS Day Luncheon. It was a very, very, very successful event and very powerful, and I was doing Christmas carols, so I didn't get to go. But at that luncheon, the award given out at that luncheon every year is the Mark Dreiling Award. And it's a service award for someone who has given and given and given and given of their time, their talents, their energy, and their love to those suffering with HIV/AIDS. And that award last Wednesday went to my brother, Ron McGee. So we'll please welcome him.
Hi. I have notes all over the place, so I've got to get my phone ready. And I can't wear my glasses. I just wanted to see what you all look like. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, parishioners, reverend, choir members, people who wandered in thinking this was the Frank Lloyd Wright Church, people who wandered in seeing the metal horses outside and thought this was the Kemper Museum, the people who came in, all two of you that wanted to see the giant macrame art piece behind me, which is a shawl for a drag queen, and Anthony Edwards. You're about to hear the ramblings of an eccentric gay man in his 50s. I'm 52 to be exact. And there are a few things I know to be true. Duke's mayonnaise is the best mayonnaise in the land. It really is. There's no questions on that. Disney Plus is everything. Baby Yoda gives me life. Trump is evil, stitched to evil. Crying is cathartic, and compassion for your fellow man is the most rewarding of human traits. I thought today, on this day of World AIDS Day, what we would talk about. We could talk about many things. We could talk about the 41 million people in the world that have died of this horrible disease. We could make it more personal, and I could tell you about the 42 friends that I have had die. Actors, dancers, lawyers. We'll never know what they would give to our world because they are gone. I could talk even more personal about my cousin Martin, who passed away from AIDS, who was lucky enough to have Hope Care Center in his life for the final days of his life. And when he wanted to be at home with his family, they made sure that there was a hospice nurse, a hospital bed in the living room so that we could all hold his hand as he took the final breath of the end of his journey. I could talk about the war itself. And yes, people, this is a war. It's a war where we fought battlefields, we're fought in bars, dance floors, the streets, people's living rooms, hospital corridors, and at least 400 cold chicken salad galas. I could talk about stigma, which is what we're really trying to fight right now. And the definition of stigma, which is on my phone, and I'm going to read it verbatim from the Webster Dictionary, which really is like the dictionary. It's like, what? That's the dictionary to get, It says a mark of disgrace associated with particular circumstance, quality, or person. Stigma. To destroy stigma. God, it's evil. I thought I would get more personal so you could see how far this goes. Situations happen. Guards were let down. And I got the call. A phone call. The doctor wouldn't even see me face to face. He told me that I had the disease, HIV, that I had AIDS, to pull my life together because it was the end. That night I had to go perform in a theater. He dropped me as my doctor because he didn't want to deal with that type of situation. He didn't really believe in it. He said I had made my own path. I then lost my insurance because they didn't want to cover me. And so I decided that it was time for me to go. I attempted the suicide, and it didn't set. And I started having private parties with friends to say goodbye. I started taping masking tape on bottom of items in my home so they knew when I passed which items they would get, like a McCoy pottery, which a lot of people love. It got worse and worse. My health was fading. I finally met a man, a beautiful man, that also was HIV positive. And he wasn't done with this fight. And when I was in a hospital room with pneumonia and the shingles, and it was the end for me, he crawled into the bed with me and said that I had more to give to the world, that I was a human being, that I had a voice. He lifted me up out of that bed and said, "You are not going now. You will fight." So with his help and the AIDS Service Foundation and Anthony Edwards and friends, Casey Care Center made sure I got a counselor and a therapist. They found me a wonderful doctor, Dr. Sharon Lee. They found me medicine to keep me alive. And here I stand. I'm now undetectable. I married that man, and I'm running a theater because I have a voice. I have a voice for this world. I wanted to tell this story today because at one point I was angry. And as adult Yoda said, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. And I didn't want to suffer anymore. So I'm here to tell you that as you go out in the world, look at your fellow man, hug people, embrace them. You don't know their journeys. But everyone has a voice. I want to end on this one quote from Beyoncé. It's Beyoncé. When I leave this world, I'll leave no regrets. Leave something to remember so they won't forget I was here. Thank you for having me over at your church.
We too have a voice, and we choose to give part of our offering every week to a different organization in Kansas City. We choose an organization that is worthy and supports our values. This month we've chosen the AIDS Service Foundation, and we're thrilled to be able to give to them. They serve over 5,700 men, women, and children in the greater Kansas City area. And I have the pleasure to be on that board, and I serve as secretary. And we are a fundraising organization for other organizations that help folks in Kansas City who are affected by HIV and AIDS. And Ron's going to tell us a little bit more about it.
Yes, AIDS Service Foundation of Kansas City. All the money that is raised stays here in Kansas City, and it helps 4 organizations: KC Care Health Center, Hope Care Center, GSP, which is now Thrive Health and Connection, and Save Inc. It also provides grants to organizations that provide education, wellness, and teaching of our youth to fight this battle and for safety.
The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Yeah, come on, get some money out.
So many things I want to do, so many dreams still to come true, so much to give. I want to be all I can be, I want to keep you here with me, I want to live. Hold on to life's mysteries, can't hold out for guarantees, there are none. Together we have come this far, don't wonder where the heroes are, you are one. Be proud of all the courage you've shown, and know that as you fight you're not alone. Life don't always go the way we planned. Sometimes you have to take a stand. And if I stumble, can I take your hand and feel the healing power of love? Feel the power of love. The healing power, the power of love. If you don't know what to say, a touch can go a long, long way to show you care. At times I want to run and hide, I may ask you to stand aside, but I know you're there. I can feel your strength as deep as the sea. It's growing stronger as it's flowing over me. can take my hand and feel the healing power of love. Feel the power of love, the healing power, the power of love. We're all in this together. It's gonna take everything that we got. So it's me and you, and I know you'll do what's right. We are all in this together, whether we know it or not. And I know we can win if we just begin to
Will you join me in the words of dedication for our offering? We dedicate our offerings and our actions to the mission at the heart of this congregation, to build a respectful, caring community, to inspire personal and spiritual growth, and to create change toward a just and compassionate society. Now let's rise in body and spirit and lift our voices together.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. For these we carry with us in our minds and hearts until we meet again. Let us hold on to life's mysteries. We can't hold out for guarantees. There are none. Together we have come this far. Don't wonder where the heroes are. You are one. Be proud of all the courage you've shown, and know that as you fight, you're not alone. Feel the power, the healing power of love.